Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to discuss about the most important and fundamental step before we actually begin, doing hands-on with ML flow. And that is why ML systems need experiment tracking beyond notebooks and Gits. So let's get started. So I have not made these presentation slides very text heavy because I wanted to give you the gist of why ML flow exists without drowning into too much details. Okay. So here, if you see this diagram, this on the left represents a mess, and this on the right represents something which is ordered and connected, and it has some connections. So we are saying this as from ad hoc experiments to production ML systems. So before we actually dive into anything of that sort, we are going to talk about how most ML flow projects start. So usually, if you have built a machine learning model, you start with a Jupyter notebook. Okay, so that is one notebook, and you will have one data set. It could be locally downloaded in your laptop or in your compute instance, whichever you are using, or it could be very small data set. Okay, it could be a large data set or small data set, or it could be present in a cloud repository or in your local notebook where your notebook instance is running. Now there is one model also. Initially, at least you will have one model. You won't be doing much experimentation and fine tuning, that sort of thing, and one person. And for most of the people, this is fine. And if let's say you are into academic and you are doing some sort of research where you have not more than maybe one or two people, in those scenarios, I don't think ML flow should be used also, because it's like wasting more time on these tools if you don't have that much requirement. Okay. So let's move on. Now I have basically given some naming convention that people usually use in their initial stages of machine learning experimentation. They will have some sort of naming for their notebook. They will have some sort of model naming, the model that they trained and that they think is the best. Not think, but based on the metrics, they think they have come to this conclusion that this is the model which is best. And there's a lot of confusion here. Why I'm saying this is a confusion? Because you might be working in an organization where some 10-20 data scientists also exist, and in those scenarios they will have their own mess. Okay. And if you have to communicate effectively, you won't be able to and you can't trust your memory here. So that's where the confusion exists. And this is where my next slide points to the hidden assumption. We humans tend to overestimate our power to remember. We say, I'll remember how this model was created, but this does not always happen. We always forget. You have to trust your experience, not your mind, because your experience tells you that you forget, but your mind will tell you, no, I'll remember. I don't have to write it down. Okay. So, what is the difference between machine learning and traditional software building? In traditional software building, you have something which is known as deterministic outputs. You have a given piece of code that will result in a given artifact or given deployment, but that is fixed. But in machine learning, the outcomes are probabilistic in nature because we are dealing with data and randomness here. So that is why here the meaning of version differs from software building. In traditional software, we have version of code, but here version means something close to decision history. So you have got a different set of tuning parameters, hyperparameters that you can tweak a little bit, and then your result will be drastically different. So those parameters have to be logged. Now, what is an ML experiment? What is an experiment? So you can think of experiment as some sort of encapsulation of all these 5 components. These 5 components are code. Obviously, without code you can't train. You will have data, you will have parameters, you will have randomness, and there is this fifth point which I think most people overlook, and that is environment, because you must be using some sort of packages in your training experiments. So that environment also has to be uh, considered as a part of ML experiment. Okay, so these 5 things will create your experiment. Now, what Git captures and what Git cannot capture. So Git only captures code changes, and that is why we are talking about something different than what traditional Git offers for machine learning systems and experiment tracking. Now, why notebooks don't scale? They don't scale because, first of all, the most primary reason is that there is no structured metadata. So you uh, run things line by line, cell by cell, and you don't have a track of how many models you have trained within one notebook or across several different notebooks. You don't have a inherent execution order. Okay, no structured metadata, and there is very it is very hard to compare runs. Runs means within an experiment you can have multiple runs. We'll talk about that in maybe later videos. So what is a core problem? Core problem is that ML systems lose this decision history, and this decision history is what we are trying to capture using ML flow. Now, why this becomes a dangerous thing in production? Because production requires us to train our model again and again. Why? Because data changes, team changes, and a new person comes. That new person probably wants to reproduce what the old person has created. And not only that, your infrastructure will also change. You might be working in GCP right now, but you will have to, let's say, switch to Azure. Those things are not in your control because management can decide to change these things at any moment. So every production team must answer why a given model is in production. We should be clearly able to articulate why a given model is uh, is is basically pushed to production. What is the reason for that? Maybe its accuracy is changed, but maybe its accuracy is best. But just answering that its accuracy is best is not enough, because you will have to answer a lot of different things. Okay, so what happens without tracking? So you don't have reproducibility, you don't have auditability. Now this is very important because in a tight organization, when I say tight, what I mean is where these compliance checks are very heavily enforced. In those type of organizations, auditability is something that needs to be taken very seriously. So so this particular thing cannot be achieved without tracking. Okay, you can't audit through a notebook. Okay, no safe rollbacks. Let's say if you have a model in production and if you would like to uh, go to some other previous healthy version, you can't do that. uh, Obviously you can do that, but there are manual things that you would like to you would have to do. Okay, so now some of the excuses of not applying these principles of ML ops and ML flow are as follows. We will clean up our code later. The code which exists in notebook, we are going to clean up it later. They will say this is just a research, and I feel this excuse can be taken if, let's say, you have a single person team and you don't have much organization and collaboration. Then I think that's fine. Tracking slows us down. Tracking will never slow you down. Tracking will only enhance your future productivity. So those things are some of the common early stage excuses that people make. Now, what breaks? We all know folder based tracking. where we, let's say, create a folder for, let's say, something like experiment this. Maybe we are testing a new feature within our training pipeline, so we'll create a new folder for that experiment. We'll create a spreadsheet comparison. That also does not work. And we sometimes also make memory based decision because we overestimate our power of memory. Okay, so essentially this is a systems and discipline problem, and this problem is actually a problem when we are dealing with a organization which is very involved in compliance checks, and it's a huge organization having multiple data scientists and multiple people working on a problem. So what experiment tracking actually solves? So there are few things that experiment tracking can help you with. First is decision traceability. You can trace what led to a given decision. For example, what led to a model being pushed to production. You have got systems memory, team alignment, and production safety. So how it leads to team alignment? Because everybody is aligned on, let's say, a given model being pushed to production. They know why it is so. They can clearly go into a centralized tool such as ML Flow Server, which we are going to talk about later, and clearly see why a given model has been pushed into production. Okay, so yeah, okay, so now I think that would be it for this particular video. There in this video I just wanted to basically uh, give you an motivation to use ML Flow within your organization setup. And we won't be doing any ML Flow APIs and UI walkthrough just yet. We'll be doing that maybe in next video. But yeah, that was the intent of this video. I hope you liked it. I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.